You're listening to
the Paint Podcast,
where we discuss and analyze trending issues on digital rights and inclusion in Africa and from around the world.
Welcome to the second edition of the Paint Podcast. This is a production of Paradigm Initiative. Paradigm Initiative is a non-profit organization with presence across 6 African countries and with partners in more than 27 African countries. Over the years, we have been advocating for digital rights and inclusion and continue to do so in Africa and beyond. Our host today is Judith Ogutu, who is joined by Sani Suleiman, Paradigm Initiative's Program Officer, to speak on artificial intelligence. We hope that you're going to learn a lesson or two from this discussion. Welcome.
Good morning, Sani. Thank you very much for joining us today. You can just start us off by introducing yourself and provide us with an overview of what you do at Paradigm Initiative.
All right, thank you so much, Judith. It's an honor to be here, and thanks for the invitation. My name is Sani Suleiman Sani, and I work as a program officer at Paradigm Initiative. Just like the vision and the mission of the organization, I help to, realize those missions and ambitions through policy influencing and capacity building and engagement of stakeholder, driving digital inclusion through different initiatives, and also help in research and high level engagement across the continent and beyond. So basically, that's my role. I work with number of people, including yourself, to realize this.
Thank you, Sani, for that introduction. So to just set us off, being the focus of discussion is artificial intelligence. We all know that it's an emerging technology, and it has continued to bloom. In simple terms, what is AI, and what, in your opinion, are key things that individuals ought to know or become aware of in as far as AI is concerned?
Okay, thank you. But now that's tricky that you said in simple terms, because there are so many terms and so many definitions of AI, but just the definitions are not so common, and it depends on the person. But for me, I will say the simple term for artificial intelligence is that those machines and systems that mimic human intelligence, the cognitive capacity and functions of human are kind of embedded in a machine or system or some mathematical formulas to functions like a human, make predictions, generate content, inferences, and all of that. But recently I came across a new definition, which for me, this is quite based on opinion. I think for me it's so far the most well thought out definition of AI. And this is the definition that was released earlier this month by the OECD, which is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. And in their definition, they classify AI as a machine based that, for explicit or implicit objectives, infers from the input it receives how to generate outputs such as predictions, content, recommendations, or decisions that can influence physical or virtual environment. So as you can see from the definitions, it mentions, the explicit and implicit objectives, which, of course, characterizes the AI. There is a lot of vagueness. There is a lot of also the opaque nature of the of the technicalities behind the AI. So this definition captures that. Also, it's noted that different AI systems vary in their levels of autonomy and adaptiveness after deployment. So, and for me, this definition as well, reflects development in AI over the last 5 years. This global changes came to limelight, and then, in the last 5 years, things start moving very fast. And from 2019, one of the prominent generative AI, which is the popular Chat GPT, um, came into existence and changes everything very, very fast. So basically, for me, this is like the most comprehensive definition so far that I came up. I know you said I should keep it simple, but actually, uh, this is a bit technical, but is the most important definition for me. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Sani, for that insight. Just building onto that, how did you become involved in the intersection of digital rights and artificial intelligence?
Yeah. So, at the core of our work as advocates and activists and human right defenders and all of that is protecting people from harm. And especially in my context, from technology, from digital environment, and for what or who this technology represents, right? And AI is a technology with a potential to change everything, even the remotest of sectors, remotest of context, because it's not just a technology, but it's a global transformation. Just like we have a transformation, like the steam engine evolving to electricity, evolving to IT, and now from IT, we are transforming into the artificial intelligence era. So this is a big moment for the not only the digital environment or digital rights, advocates, but also for everything and everyone. So, um, like I said, at the core of that, we need to ensure that the deployment and development of this technology or the process of this transformation is just, it's fair and it's inclusive, not to leave everything behind. Because unlike the last transformation, we have been battling with a lot of inequalities, uh, uneven playing ground, and what have you. So yeah, I got involved to ensure that we have you know justice in the process. We also ensure that it is it provides the same level playing ground for the vulnerables, for the people at the global south, especially, uh, and also everyone else.
Thank you, Sani, for that. Just to follow up on that particular aspect you've spoken about, I'm curious to know, are there specific guidelines or principles you believe should be followed in developing and deploying AI technologies in Africa, especially?
All right, thank you so much for that. But not only in Africa, everywhere. When it comes to you know, adoption, deployment, or creation of these technologies, we do have universal principles or guidelines for internet, as well as universal guidelines for artificial intelligence, which includes, transparency. Like I've mentioned earlier, this technology is opaque. Um, people do not know what is going on behind the scene, what kind of inputs, because it's built based on, models. You need models for this technology to function. So what goes into those models and, all of that, many people, especially the advocates and human rights defenders, do not know that. So of course, the issue of transparency, uh, and also we are discussing the issue of human determination. Of course, we need some human oversight when it comes to this AI, and also the issue of privacy and data protection, which is very, very big. AI cannot function without data, but what kind of data, by who, and all of that, and also to ensure that it's not discriminating against anyone, and also there is no unwarranted surveillance in the deployment and all of this. And another point that I want to add is the issue of fairness and inclusivity, because what we have seen so far, there is no enough inclusivity in this process. These are technologies mostly developed in the global north. Um, we are expected to just purchase and, adopt it in our own context. So we want a situation whereby, we want a very serious inclusivity when it comes to the conversation of artificial intelligence, the guidelines and the governance of artificial intelligence, to ensure that, yes, African voices well represented in that. The voices from the global south are also included in that conversation. Also, I think another principle that we need to, and we are not talking much about it, is the, education awareness of the, members of the public. People need to, like I said, it's a global transformation. I believe people need to be aware of that. People need to understand the potentials and also the risk of AI, even at the basic level, so that all of those principles that I have mentioned earlier, like transparency, privacy and data protection, the issue of, fairness and inclusivity, safety and security, are all taken into account when we are having this conversation, and people are well aware of anything that is happening around that.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Sani. I'm just curious, do you think there are platforms where countries can start this conversation, because you find that Africa has been left behind and perhaps global majority is not at par with the global north? Um, where do we start this conversation from, given that we operate from different contexts, we use different languages, people and countries are at a different stage when it comes to AI development?
Yeah, so at the moment, the current state of, AI governance, it's been dominated by the companies and the governments in the global north. And like you said, we run the risk of falling behind once again, because all of this transformation, Africa has was not able to, adopt it as other continent in the globe. But also the issue has been, lack of necessary infrastructure to do that. But for the first time, we have opportunity to catch up with the rest of the world, to, like people said, leapfrog, and also be able to compete. And I think we are making some progress at the moment. If you check, for example, at the regional level, you will see initiatives like the African Union uh, continental strategy on AI, which is a very, very welcome development. We also have the African Union data policy framework to ensure the free flow of data and also the protection of this data based on African interest. And also recently, I have seen an initiative again by the EU on the data governance and innovation, where they have a forum. So I would say there are many initiatives, but that is not enough. There are so many global conversations happening, and Africa and other continents, especially in the global north, are not part of that conversation. And we are discussing about, global governance of this. So how is it global when some people are not represented in the conversation? So for example, at a continental level, what we are proposing is aside the continental strategy on AI, we also need African program of action, which is, to have one voice coming from Africa, just like what we have in AU, EU, most of the conversation EU speaks with one voice. And in Africa, we do have, a fragmented space whereby this country is coming up with a different, regulation. This one is coming with a different regulation, and we are interacting at a different level with the companies and the government in the global north. So there is this fragmentation. It's a fragmented space that I think AU need to, take initiative in unifying that. So we propose a unified African program of action on AI so that we will be speaking with one voice, and also it will give us a strong voice in this conversation. But other initiatives which I think are quite commendable is that we are seeing more and more African countries coming up with national strategies on AI, identifying the opportunities and also the risk that come with that, and also how they are going to benefit um from that. So that's what I think we need.
Thank you, Sani. And besides policy development and regulation, if you can just give us like an overview briefly of the current state of AI development and adoption in Africa? Do you have that, insight?
Yes. So aside the, policy development and regulations surrounding that, you also have private companies and individuals investing in AI and other initiatives that has to do with data. For example, you will notice that more and more universities, for example, are, coming up with, AI labs, laboratories, I mean, to, initiate kind of research activities around AI. And also, companies, for example, Google has a center in Ghana, which focuses on, African context, coming up with lots of, products and solutions that speaks to the African context, from, uh, health related products to, um, algorithms and AI that can predict flooding and what have you. So these are some of the, initiatives you will see across the continent, and also um, you have private individuals coming up with forums. Recently, there was a forum on ethical artificial intelligence that happened in Tanzania last month, I guess. Oh, sorry, earlier this month of November. So these are some of the initiatives you will see, but unlike the global north, you will not see something at a larger scale because of so many issues that I have mentioned. For example, the lack of, you know, African data to fit this algorithm, lack of, expertise, as well skilled labor, and lack of government support as well, because as it is right now, despite, the initiatives of coming up with AI strategies, still most African governments are yet to realize the potential that this technology possesses. Even at the moment, we are more than 35 countries in Africa regulating AI through data protection acts and regulation. There is no specific regulation that speaks to AI, which shows, lack of proactiveness in, harnessing the potential of this technology. So yes, these are some of the developments I have seen, aside the policy um, developments.
Thank you so much, Sani, for that. Those are quite useful. Just looking at what you've said, what in your perspective do you see as opportunities for both the continent, and mostly actually the continent and the global majority?
So I think one of the opportunities, um, it's our population. Let me start with that. Uh, most of the most dominant demography in Africa is the youth demography, which is a good thing. And in the next, 10, 20 years, Africa will be a major global force because of this resource, human resource that we have. So the opportunity is for the African government to realize that, which I believe they do, and invest in that, investing in giving them access, investing, in ensuring that everyone is connected so that they can tap into the benefits of the internet and also the artificial intelligence. So, utilizing that resource is the first step that um, we need to capitalize on, uh, and also ensuring that that is when, like I said, we propose a unified African program of action. So with that, I think it's an opportunity that Africa should be speaking in one voice when it comes to, the conversation of, you know, artificial intelligence and what have you. AU need to push for that, need to ensure that it is seated at the table whenever we are having a conversation of, artificial intelligence governance. And also another opportunity is to tap into the private-public partnership. Um, Despite the fact that we do not have, indigenous research outputs, um, we also have we need to realize that there are, lots of investments that Africa can benefit from. We need to understand the landscape. We need to understand where these investments are, and it will help us when we secure this investment. It will help us to, bridge that gap of, digital infrastructure, the research issues, and you know uh, tapping into human resource that we have. So I think this three, which is the public-private partnership, um, and also having a strong voice in the conversation of AI governance, and also ensuring that we utilize the human resource that we have, are the biggest opportunities um, that Africa and countries in the global south can tap into and play to their advantage. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sani. You've actually touched on my next question, which was going to be specific policy recommendations or changes that you believe are important. So, just building onto that, what do you think can contribute towards a more inclusive and rights respecting AI landscape in the space we currently operate in?
I think, to be more specific here, I will say, and also to capture some of the gaps and opportunities that I have mentioned. First is coming up with a framework that allows sharing of knowledge, sharing of expertise, sharing of resources across the continent, and also ensuring that every stakeholder is involved in developing the framework, and also give everyone a sense of belonging, and also equity. Redistributing of power is not a just like we have internet governance. We also need to have AI governance based on same principles of inclusion, belonging, diversity of multiple identities represented in the conversation, and also the issue of like I said, equity, to ensure that there is a redistribution of power in the framework. This will go a long way in ensuring, inclusivity in the conversation uh, of AI.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's quite insightful. Just to as we go towards wrapping up, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on collaboration. How important is it among the different stakeholders? And this includes governments, tech companies, the civil society, the media. What is your take on that when it comes to collaboration in like just addressing challenges posed by AI in the digital rights and inclusion space?
All right, thank you for that question. The issue of collaboration cannot be overstated. Um, the reality is no one can do it alone. You need government, for example, need to, provide an enabling environment through its policy and regulation. The CSOs and human rights defenders and and the activist space also need to provide an oversight of, the function of all of these stakeholders. The companies, of course, they are the ones with the resources, and also most of the times the expertise need to understand their role in the conversation, and also ensuring that their systems and their design of AI and related systems are well within the universal guidelines, the local regulations and what have you. And also the public, of course, the academia as well, the minorities. So we need collaboration. Of course, no one can do it alone. And that's why we need that framework, like I've mentioned, to redistribute power, and everybody needs to understand their role in that framework and how they can contribute to the innovation, and deployment of this technology.
Great, thank you. So, having said all that you've said, what is your parting shots? What would you like to leave us with as we wrap up?
All right, my parting shots will be that, first, to African government, from the AU down to the country level, they need to understand that this is a global transformation. It's not just technology like blockchain or what have you that will just come and pass, but this is a global transformation that is capable of changing everything. We need to be proactive in how we handle the situation, from the regulations, down to, you know, um, innovating, how to allow, innovation to prosper in their various jurisdiction, and also empowering their people, from their academia to their local experts, local businesses and companies, to be able to thrive. So yeah, enabling environment. And also at the regional level, I think, of course, AU's initiatives are quite commendable, but I think it's, in my opinion, they are moving slowly. The environment is evolving very fast, but we are still trying to catch up with how fast it's evolving. So we need to act very, very fast at the regional level, and also ensure that we are at the table when the conversation of AI governance is being discussed. And also for the human rights defenders, the activists, and CSOs, we have lots of work. We need to ensure that this transition is just, fair, inclusive, and transparent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sani. And that marks the end of our podcast session today. We thank you very much for the time you shared and spent with us. And we appreciate your insightful views and guidance on artificial intelligence. We look forward to hosting you once again. And of course, expanding this knowledge and view on this important subject. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us on today's Pin Podcast. Be sure to join in for our next episode. You can follow us on our social media platforms: Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram @ParadigmHQ.